What's up? What's happening, y'all? Happy fucking Saturday. It's Whatchu Spinnin time. We're here for episode 104. As always, I'm Dorian in a newly rearranged room. That's Matt reporting from the International Space Station, and that's Jake appearing from his home. He's got some good glasses on. Matt looks comfy. I know I am. How we doing today, boys?
Fantastic.
Good.
Happy go lucky. It's a good day. It's kind of sunny around here. You look out your window,
Mhm.
Dorian, it's pretty sunny. It's nice. How's the
Yeah.
weather in Bend there, Jake? Is it frozen?
It's also sunny, but there is ice and snow
Yeah.
everywhere. It's not really fluffy snow, it's kind of just ice, but it's
The,
sunny, so it'll hopefully warm up a bit.
the worst kind of snow. Not even the fun stuff. Hell yeah, guys. Well, I guess we just get right on into it. Anybody been listening to anything good? I have some stuff I want to share about music, but I will give you guys the floor before I do any of that.
I did want to ask, pick your guys' brains if you guys had heard it. Had you guys heard the ASAP Rocky album,
Oh
the
my
new
God,
one?
it's the only thing I've been listening to other than these three albums.
Ooh.
I'm essentially not kidding. Obviously, I've listened to some other shit, but that is like heavy rotation. Big fan. I think it's better than testing. Um, I
Damn.
Yeah, I'll just because that's like literally what my answer is. So just give me like I'll just go ahead and spout about this album. This is an album like because we kind of talked and we all kind of appreciated the artistry that ASAP Rocky has for, an artist of his level, and he's affiliated with Tyler the Creator. So having an album like Testing come out and have it be, very artistic and like well thought out. Uh, and then that plus the 8 year wait, I was really nervous for how this album was going to be because I loved the fuck out of Testing. It was my favorite album that came out within the span of 3 years back then. Um, and I'm blown away by this. It's like rather than just putting out 3 minute banger club tracks, he would do like a good song, but then he'd like do these kind of interludes to where it's very rare nowadays that a rapper like ASAP Rocky puts out an album that's actually worth listening to cover to cover. It's just not something that happens a lot nowadays with like the more mainstream guys. And so I was very happy with that. Stay Here for Life is an incredible song. No Trespassing, Playa, uh, fucking Whiskey with Doechii, like that really cool smooth jazz shit.
Love that song.
I could listen to an ASAP Rocky like jazz album forever. I'm a big fan of that shit. But yeah, Don't Be Dumb, incredible album. I think it's a very early contender. I mean, we're not even out of January yet, but I do think that's going to be a heavy conversation about rap album of the year. Uh, Sorry, Armand Hammer, you released your album too early, so you don't. It's the only thing that could dethrone it. Um, but yeah, big fan, big fan. I highly recommend that anybody listen to it. I'm not bringing it up for next episode, but I was in that camp. I was like, I almost pulled a Matt and was like, "Fuck it, this album just came out. I'm bringing it up." But yeah, big fan.
Yeah,
Same, yeah, I liked it too.
I haven't listened to it yet. I need to put that on.
Oh yeah, I'll
Give it a
send I'll
whirl.
send I'll send those 2 or 3 tracks that I just named. Give you a good starting off point.
Cool.
Yeah, give it a listen for sure. I think it's definitely pretty experimental for what he usually does, what he typically listen to of his. I mean, given the only single off the album was Punk Rocky, and it's just like a punk song, adjacent if you want to call it. But I liked it. I got to listen to it more. I thought it was the Sauce Waka feature was actually really fun. That's probably the best feature on the album. The Brent Faiyaz song is really good. I like Doechii's verse a lot on their song that they did. West Side Gun hopping on a song just to do ad libs and dip, not even say anything else.
I was so hyped, and then I was so disappointed when I didn't hear him
Yeah.
rap. I was like, God damn! I heard the brrr. I was like, and then nothing. I was like, you
West Side
fucking
Gun, but
cock
it's like
tease.
it's nothing. But it was good. I like it. I like it. It was a good album. And besides that, I did see that IDK dropped a new album. I haven't heard it, but I do plan to listen to it because I think he has some pretty good features on it. Um, so gotta listen to that. Um, what's it called? ETDS, a mixtape by IDK. He's got Black Thought, Conductor Williams, No ID, MF Doom. There's a track on there with Doom, with Pusha T, with RZA. So it's a pretty stacked
Yeah.
album. I gotta listen to it. But
God damn.
yeah, kind of cool seeing some new music come out pretty early in the year.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually like this type of shit wouldn't be rolling out until like November, you know? Like so the fact that or like the summertime, so the fact that we get something good to kind of nibble on for a little bit this early in the year, especially when we're stuck inside is pretty nice. Matt, what about you, my man?
Not too much new. I've kind of been revisiting. Sometimes in the dispensary, I'll get to control the music a little bit. So I've been trying to throw out different things that we reviewed. So I played, last night I worked Bismillah by Peter Cat. It was a good vibe. Yeah. I hadn't heard some of those songs in a minute, so that was cool. And then kind of dove back into some Jeff Buckley live performances. He has a few live albums that were released after he died that are, pretty good. Lots of cool improv, and he was really good on the guitar. And of course, we know his vocal range, and yeah, that's about it.
Hell yeah. I love the Buck man. Love me some Bismillah. Incredible album. I wear that shirt at least once a week. Um Yeah, other than ASAP Rocky, I just wanted to take a moment. We did, like literally the last time we recorded, that night it came out that Bob Weir, one of the last remaining OG members of the Dead, passed away. That was heartbreaking for me. This summer, I mean, obviously, I've got the Marching Bears behind me, a big Deadhead over here, but this summer I really got into the songs that Bob Weir like wrote or was the singer, kind of like the main focus of. And I just kind of fell in love with his like kind of because he's kind of the stuff that he would do, like he would do Dylan covers and sing them, and as I've said, Bob Dylan only made good music that other people could play. He couldn't perform his own music. I will die on that hill. Any cover of a Bob Dylan song is better than his version. Fight me. But anyway, like he has this very like almost country bluesy feel to him, and that's where I pull a lot of my influence from. And so I just got really into his playing and his singing and everything. And I was really, really hoping that I could see Dead and Company before he passed, but unfortunately I was unable to. Yeah, so R.I.P. Bob Weir. That was certainly heavy. I've been listening to a lot of his shit, and playing a lot of songs of his that I know. So yeah, other than that, yeah, ASAP Rocky's album, go fucking listen to it, man. It's truly something incredible. Other than that, if you haven't been listening to these three albums along with us, we're gonna go ahead and tell you why you should. I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We will be right back to dive into today's content of What You Spinning. Stick around. What's up, fam? It's about that time. We just gave you a little bit of an introduction, talking about some good music that's come out, stuff we've been listening to. But now it's really time to get into the nitty-gritty of episode 104. The fact that I have to say 100 and now for episodes is still very surreal to me. Love it, love it, love it. I know that we've got a lot of more juice in the tank, at least I do. I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We are here and we're excited. I'm particularly excited to get into this one. It's Jake's pick for this week. Yeah, why don't you let us know what's going on, buddy?
Yeah. Um, Looking up some facts about this album. Crazy to think that it's a debut solo album for this artist, Kenny Beats, when he's been around for God knows how long. But debut solo studio album by Kenny Beats, Louie, came out in 22. This is gatefold, kind of cool. The inside, it's got like some pictures of like him and his family when he's younger and some thank you things on it. Um, Pretty cool. Reading up on this album, I guess, a lot of really cool stuff coming out of this. But Kenny Beats found out that his dad had pancreatic cancer, and while he was working on Crawler by Idols, uh, producing that album, which is kind of crazy. I didn't know.
Ooh. I like that
That
tie-in.
was, yeah, that was a interesting crossover into our multiverse. But he found out that his dad had a pancreatic cancer, and kind of just, like shocking news threw him off, and he wanted to make an album kind of dedicated to his father. So he did this. Um, and it's kind of cool how something so dark can turn into something so beautiful with this album. Because you hear this, it's got a lot of mix of everything. It's got soul, it's got jazz, it's got funk, it's got, it's mainly instrumental, but there is some features on here, some artists that come and sing and rap and do their thing. Um, Pretty cool album. I really like it. When I heard it, it kind of blew my mind. Because I had heard of Kenny Beats before, but not anything solo. Only heard stuff that he had done with Denzel Curry and some other artists, with Freddie Gibbs. But this was a really good one for a solo project. So, what did you guys think about it?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of what you were saying there. My familiarity with Kenny Beats was I knew he was a producer. I had, seen videos of him producing, and I was like, oh, this guy knows what's up. And then same thing with you. My familiarity with him was very much tied to 2020 when he was doing all of those projects with Denzel Curry.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I found out about both of them, right? And I never really gave either a good listen until we talked about Melt My Eyes and then this album, of course. And yeah, it is. You said it blew your mind. It blew the fuck out of mine too, man. The production on this is nasty. We'll just get right on into it. I love the intro with Leonard. I assume that's him and his father talking. And then it just goes right into it with parenthesis, and then Hold My Head being the third track on this. That pause, then the beat kicks in. I literally just got chills down my spine thinking about it. Literally, anytime that song would come on, I was acting like I was making the beat. I was like, fuck, head banging and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, you kind of put a good, you kind of gave it a lot of good props there. It does have a lot of everything on it. And I did not know the backstory to it, so I agree that, having something that has a lot of depth for what could be, kind of cast aside as just a debut beat tape. Which again, like you said, insane that this is his solo debut when he already had such a back catalog of stuff. Work like those Denzel Curry projects were huge for the fans of both
Yeah.
of these guys. Like those were very popular albums. And so the fact that 2 years later he finally does his own solo debut, and I don't think, I'm a big diehard debut album guy, and I think he knocked it out of the park. And now I want to go find other stuff that he's produced, whether it's just songs or albums. Did not know about. I think we talked about it when we talked about that album by Idols, but I totally forgot about that. So that's sick. Yeah, man, it's got it's just there's just so much. It's actually got quite a long track list on it, and there is a little bit of something for everybody. So I'm a big fan of this. I think I'm going to keep listening to it well after we're done with this episode. So yeah, man, props to you for bringing this up. I don't think I would have dug into this without it. So hell yeah, man.
Yeah, both you guys pretty much summed up everything about this album. It's unique and fun, and it's loud and distorted, and has some cool bass and funky rhythms and a hook here and there. And I never listened to anything by him, and only know of him from what we've reviewed, like you guys said, with Denzel and Idols. But this is a fun album. Being only 30 minutes long, it goes so fast. And there's 17 tracks. I mean, Jesus, all those tracks are individually really cool. I like the way it starts off, like you guys said, with Leonard and that conversation he's having with his dad. It's really cool. It kind of blended that in and made it a song. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to say. This is a great album. You guys summed it up with all your talk.
Oh yeah. Nice. Glad you guys like it.
Yeah.
It's definitely like for it being 30 minutes, it has so much
Mhm.
in those 30 minutes every song. And you get some like that's kind of why I liked listening to it for the first time. And every time I listen to it, I'll try to pick out, different things that I hear, different artists that are on here because for the track list, there's a lot of people on here. You got Slow Tie, the Pink Seafood's on a couple of tracks. Remy Wolf. You got JPEG Mafia, Peggy. He's on here. Nami. So there's a lot of different artists that are in this and that collaborate in this Thundercat. So it's cool kind of hearing every it's different song be something different. And one is just a super quick drum track. The other one, it's a melodic sing-along song. It's got like, a little bit of everything for only being 30 minutes. But I think it's really cool. I like the personality behind it. I think it has a lot, and it's also very personable. Like it's, uh, um, talking about something that he gets inspiration from this, that it kind of came and brought something out that we probably wouldn't have heard. Because I have listened to Kenny Beats before, his other projects, but I haven't really heard anything like this. All his other songs, especially with Denzel Curry, they're a lot more like in your face, like a typical, you know, East Coast hip hop song that you would listen to. But this is just completely different. This is more, performative for a hip hop artist, and it's also a lot more, I guess, lo-fi in a way. It's not so much like drum beat. But yeah, it's a pretty fun album. Really glad you guys liked it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I really like the diversity on it. I gave Hold My Head a good amount of praise earlier. I think that is probably one of the more standout tracks on this. I do love the JPEG Mafia feature on Still. But let's talk about Family Tree, man, because I feel like that's like the most like
Yeah.
if all of these songs were circled, that one stands just outside the ring. Because it has so much swagger, and I assume that that's the track that Thundercat has something to do with because that bass line is nasty, and then the fuck your mama, your sis, and it just
Yeah,
makes you want
that's
to. It makes me feel like I'm in a lava lamp, dude. I'm just, it's just so funky and like grimy and sweaty, and like to have that first like what 1 2 3 4 songs and then Family Tree, and then you're like, what else can this album be? And then it goes on to have songs like Still, uh really really that third thing, Rotten, like all of these tracks. You hear Family Tree and you're like, what the hell else is going to come? And then just track after track is just a whirlwind. And I obviously listened to this album while I was working and stuff and didn't really pay attention to the runtime. And then I looked it up today and I was like, there's no shot that this album's only 30 minutes long. There's so much going on, and it just puts its claws in you, opening with a very like personal thing, like a conversation with your dying father, is really, like a kind of breaking down the walls between artist and listener, and being like, hey, come on in, listen to this. This is my first solo debut project. And, to have all of these different kind of factors, going into this album, and then having the opening track like that, or have the opening track be something like Leonard, really shows that Kenny put a lot of thought into this. And I assume that this tape means a lot to him, based off of that, because it really is like, hey, it's like you're going over to somebody's house for dinner and you knock on the door and they open it. They're like, yeah, come on inside. That's basically what Leonard is. And then he just beats the hell out of your ears for 30 minutes, and you're like, Kenny, I didn't know you had it in you. I just thought you were a big fan of Denzel Curry. I didn't know you could do that. That's fucking crazy, man. Hell yeah. So yeah, I really, this album like really made me appreciate Kenny Beats and everything, like actually kind of, I knew of him. It's a good name. He's a household name as far as, producers go, but I didn't, I was like, I gave him respect, I was like, hey, he's got cosigns from a lot of people. Cool. I don't personally listen to him, and now I'm like, holy shit! Like this is might be like one of the better producers that we've got right now, and I need to check out the other shit he's doing. So yeah, thanks for giving me another rabbit hole to dive down, as if I needed one. But
yeah.
Yeah, glad you brought this album up. It was fun. Great features, like you guys said, and just a short and sweet album, and a great dedication to a dad, which is pretty cool that he went out and did that and created a memory that'll last forever. And he's got it on vinyl, even
there
better.
you go. On wax,
Oh,
baby.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of the show, is to bring shit up that we wouldn't know or ever get
Yeah,
into. So I had
absolutely.
heard of Kenny Beats. I had never done a solo project of his. So this is a kind of the only one. Hopefully there's more solo projects, but yeah, it's fucking awesome. The last track, Hot Hand, I think that's such a perfect ending. It's just like it just build up to this like weird like tribal kind of native like drum going in the background the whole time, and then it just explodes into like just a randomness. Yeah, awesome album, solid. I'm really glad you guys liked it. We can get into top threes if everybody got them on their minds.
Yeah, let's go
Um,
ahead.
Right up here.
Honorable mention for me, I'll go Still. I like that Peggy feature. I think it's pretty cool. There's a Tiny Desk concert that Kenny Beats did, and he did a couple of. It's mainly this album that he did, but JPEG Mafia is there, and he's doing that song. So really good. Definitely go check it out. It's really cool. Number three, Hold My Head. Also really like that song, Dorian. I think it's cool that Pink Sifu is on it. I had no idea until I read it. And I've been listening to this album for a while now. Number two, Last Words. I really like Remy Wolf's vocals on that. And then Rotten. I just really like the lyrics on Rotten. Just, not giving up, not letting in. Um, Great lyrics, so I like that song a lot.
Hell yeah. Honorable mention for me, So They Say. I think the first five tracks on this album really kind of make the album very early on. Not to say that the rest of the album isn't good, but I think the five first tracks on this are very, very strong, and So They Say is one of those. So honorable mention to that. Number three for me, Still. I mean, obviously, big JPEG Mafia guys around here, so obviously got to put that one in. Number two for me, Family Tree. Talked about that one, just that funky, grimy. It's just everything's covered in mud. I know I say that a lot, but that's what it reminds me of. The number one, Hold My Head, man. The soul, it's like so reminiscent of like the Graduation Kanye production, which we all know I'm a big fan of, and so like that chipmunk soul kind of feel, really just like I literally stopped what I was doing at work because I listened to all of these the first time when I was at work. I literally stopped what I was doing because I heard that beat kicking and I was like, no way. I was like, this is crazy. So yeah, Hold My Head, number one.
Yeah, I think our lists are pretty damn similar. For me, honorable mention would have been Leonard, just starting off the album that way. Really cool. Great dedication to his dad. Love that. And then three, two, one, go with Rotten for number three. Still number two. And then I like Parenthesis is my favorite track.
Nice.
All early on, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. There's 17 and they're so quick. It's such a short album. I think
Yeah.
I listened to this one more than any of the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just because I was familiar with the other two. And
Yeah.
there was a lot, like it was, like you said, there's a lot to kind of get into, even though I know that I've like mentioned a couple times, but 17 tracks, only 32 minutes. That is
Mm.
such a it doesn't make sense.
No.
That should be an hour minimum, in my
Yep.
opinion.
Right.
But so there is like a lot to kind of get into because you'll miss shit super easy. But anywho, that was the debut solo project from Kenny Beats titled Louie, released in 2022. Which was Jake's pick for this beautiful episode 104 of What You Spinnin'. We will be right back after a brief break to talk about Matt's pick for this week. I think if you liked this one we just talked about, you're sure as fuck gonna like the next one. So stick around. We're gonna nerd out about something that you've heard us nerd out about umpteen times, but suck it, we're gonna do it again. I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We are What You Spinnin'. We'll be right back. Peace. Fellas,
Do.
I think we're all on the same page here. This is a damn good album. It's been a good start to an episode. Great intro, great first topic. We're on to our second. It's one that we're all super stoked about. I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. And speaking of Matt, it's his turn to introduce his pick for this wonderful episode 104 of What You Spinnin'. What you got, my man?
My turn. Yes, here we go. Yeah, so I feel like this artist, like there's other albums that I want to bring up by them, but I figured let's talk about a newer one. And this one being kind of uh ties into one we've already reviewed because it's by The Alchemist, but it's Armand Hammer's release from 2025 titled Mercy. I was able to pick it up at Moonrock recently
Shout
for
out.
a great price of 30 something dollars, and right behind it was a copy of Haram. And I was like, damn, I didn't buy it, but I never thought I'd see the day. Two
Which
Arm& Hammer. Yeah.
which cover was it?
The Pighead.
Oh my fucking God, I wish I would have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably still there.
Yeah, noted. Thank you.
It's no longer there because I told
Oh,
George about it, and I think he went to go pick it up.
oh, nap.
I'm breaking his knees. Just
I
kidding.
should
Love
have
you,
snagged it. It was
love
a
you,
great
Yorch.
price too. I was like, damn
Yeah.
it. But I like the alternate cover. But going back to
Yeah.
Mercy, this is another collab between Billy Woods, Elucid, and the Alchemist, and it doesn't shy away from that formula that they're known for, which is odd, weird timing, sampling that's not really sampling. It's just kind of there. I don't know. It's something about when they work together, it's very fluid, but also very different. It's unlike any hip hop album you'll hear. And this is another great example of how well they blend together. I think the last track on this album stood out the most because it's one of the first ones they released, Super Nintendo. Probably one of the more catchier songs with the hooks and the melodies and stuff like that. And one of my favorite tracks as well. But you've got both Billy and Elucid doing their thing lyrically, and they're both so unique. They don't sound the same. They're so different with their approach, their lyrical content. And it's just another example of why they're at the top of their game, releasing stuff like this. And just a great album. Short and sweet. I think it's about 40 minutes. So I think we come to expect that with an Arm& Hammer release. Not going to be a super long album, but I liked it a lot. What did you guys think?
Yeah, this is you put it perfectly. It doesn't stray from that formula that Arm& Hammer and the Alchemist projects are known for. But that's shouldn't be taken as a detriment, right? Because there it is a new fresh spin on it, but there is still this very avant-garde experimental kind of feel to it from everything from the verses to the cadences to the beats itself. There's not a lot. You mentioned it perfectly. Super Nintendo probably is the catchiest song on this album. But it still doesn't have like a classic, like for perfect example, there's not a beat on this album that you could compare to something like, Hold My Head off of Louie. And that's the same thing that you could say for Haram. And it's really, really interesting to listen to these three guys work together because then you go and listen to either an Elucid solo project, a Billy Woods solo project, or a different project that the Alchemist has produced, and they don't make music like this unless it's the three of them together. While there are certain aspects of like Billy Woods solo projects and Elucid solo projects that kind of carry over into when they work with Al, they're not 110% the same, you know what I mean? um and like starting off, I mean, a perfect example is the opening track, Laraji. Like you get that bam bam bam, and it's like, what the hell is this? And then perfect, like we just talked about Haram, like the beats to Indian Summer and Black Sunlight. Those are really interesting beats. And then you get a song like, where is it? Scandinavia on this that's kind of reminiscent of those Haram tracks that the beats kind of seemed aimless, but with a little bit of purpose. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but I agree that they kind of took those elements from Haram and everything, but kind of put a new spin on it. And there's some other stuff that I'll dive into here in a bit, but yeah, I'm a big fan, obviously. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been waiting for this one, man. I would lie if I wouldn't say that I've heard this album probably more than any of our albums. Um, just because I mean, I like really getting into it and like dissecting everything that's being said and just catching the differences, some similarities. There is some similarities to this to Haram, but it's still kind of very out there. It's still being experimental. I think it's not as experimental as Haram, but I think to its degree it can be in certain songs. But the wordplay and the lyricism is still there. Like it's still top notch for both, for Woods and for Lucid. They're both doing excellent what they do. So many quotable lines on here. Like Grandmaster Flash gave me a job. Like that Elucid line with his delivery on it, he just so much like passion in it. It kind of sounds like he's angry rapping. It's all over this album. Any song on this album, pick one out. You'll hear something. You'll hear a lyric that will just like throw you off, and because you don't really hear this. Like like say for example the Rocky album that just came out. There's lyricism in there, but it's not something like this. It's not something like super intricate, different layers to this shit. There's layers to this shit. So yeah, I really appreciated this album a whole lot more when it first came out, and I definitely gave it a lot more listens this time. So fantastic.
I think you had a good representation, Dorian. What you said with avant-garde, like that's the sound that you get throughout this whole album. Songs like Moonbow, where it's that like high-pitched lady just kind of doing her thing. I don't even know what she's
Moonbow's a
saying. Yeah, I was gonna try
Moonbow's a
to replicate it,
beautiful.
but I don't want to do it on air. And then like Nil by Mouth, that is one of my favorite tracks. That is the most ambient Arm& Hammer track I've ever heard in my life, and probably my favorite track on this album. It's short and sweet, but I don't know, it's just very, very eerie and slow and like you're underwater in a sense. And all the tracks on here are great. You know, they got some good features with, some familiar faces with Quella Chris and Pink Sifu and Earl Sweatshirt, of course. But I don't know. From start to finish, it's an Arm& Hammer album, and there's little bits and pieces in between. Great lyricism. I wish I would have wrote some more of the bars down because there's some great lyrics from both Billy and Lucid that are repeatable for days. But yeah, great album.
Yeah, the lyricism on this is nuts. We talked about Super Nintendo, and I think I've jokingly said that on this line on the podcast 11 times already. But we had a time. Don't let them say different is easily one of the coldest opening Billy Woods lines to a verse I've heard. And to be quite frank with you, Super Nintendo might be my one of my favorite songs in the entire Arm& Hammer catalog. Uh, but you mentioned the features on this. The Quelly Chris features on this album are top notch. Probably my favorite backwoods Quelly Chris features on backwoods tracks are on this album. Really, really impressive. Pink Sifu kills it as well. Uh, yeah, you mentioned it. Nil by Mouth is an incredible song. Uh, this is something I wanted to bring up about this. I don't know if you guys recall back during the lead up to diabetic test strips. I think it was Complex or somebody, Rolling Stone maybe even, but they did a sit down interview with Billy and Elucid and talked about the lead up, and they, talked about how their music has changed, leading up to this album. And they were talking about how they were 40 and fathers, or, like approaching like, later 40s and fathers and all of this stuff. And then they dropped diabetic test strips, and you don't really hear a lot of lyricism talking about those type of things. And then they put out Mercy, and that's where this is. Like dog-eared, it's one of the only times I've ever heard Billy Woods talk about his actual personal life in a very on the nose manner. Because Billy Woods, the one of the reasons that we all love him is because he can create the layers to this shit, right? With the way that he writes things. And you dissect it and you're like, oh, that's what it's about. But he's like legitimately just talking about his son jumping in puddles. And so there's a new brand of introspection from both Billy Woods and Elucid on this album. And I think it's a perfect pairing with The Alchemist to do very introspective, come in and see what my life is actually like, especially for an artist as private as Woods. And I think it's a beautiful pairing of, lyricism like that, that's heavy and introspective, and kind of showing his ass a little bit. That pairing with the Alchemist production and that avant-garde kind of feel is very, very nice. That was like the main thing I kept coming back to. I was like, man, there's like no nuance on some of these songs. Like he's just kind of telling it how it is. And Elucid the same thing. So yeah, very, very impressed with this kind of newer way or the new ways that we're kind of getting let into the minds of Elucid and Billy Woods. And so I was very, very appreciative of that. Yeah. I think that's like the main thing that I took away from this album.
Oh yeah. Uh, one of the verses that on Dog Ear, Wood says, where he's like, he starts his verse by saying like, what is like someone asked him at a bar, what's the role of a poet in times like these? And he doesn't have an answer, but he keeps doing the rest of the song, the rest of his verse, like explaining, like you said, what he's doing in his daily life, going to work, this and that, gets phone calls, whatever, doing whatever. He doesn't have and then he goes back to the same scenario at the end of the song, and it says, "You got an answer for me yet?" He says, "I'm still grappling." So he doesn't have an answer to the question, but what he's rapping about, what his verse is, like he can't verbalize like an answer to that question, but he's explaining it in his own way, in his own, his own lyrics, what he's saying. Also songs like Calypso Gene, where he says the river is the border is the river. Sniper, watch me swim. 2.7 pounds of pressure on that trigger. Like, dude, like you
Gross.
hear this and it paints a picture perfectly. Like it's it's I don't know who else right now is like putting that much visualization in lyrics that you can hear, and you're
No
like,
one.
damn, I fucking hear that. Like I
Yeah,
can see it. You can visualize it. It's crazy.
Yeah, lyrics for days on this one. Yeah, great album, fun listen. That's all there is to say about it. It's another great Armand Hammer release, short and sweet and to the point. I always love when they release new albums because they're all so different. Like you said, Dorian,
Mhm.
Diabetic Test Strips is way out there and
Yeah.
another one that needs to be revisited by probably all of us because I don't know if I've given it enough love in the last year or two. That's
Hmm.
another great release. But this one too, they're just so unique with the way they make an album. It's not like any hip hop album you'll hear. It's completely different and off the board. And some people might not like it, but we adore it and appreciate all the stuff they put into it. And each release is different in its own way. And it's a great example of what they're doing and how they're representing themselves in hip hop.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I speak for all of us. I'm happy to wait 3 to 4 years for an Arm& Hammer release if it's produced by The Alchemist. Because this pairing, the pairing is just too nuts, man. It's crazy. It shouldn't. It's like because you on paper you're like, yeah, it would make sense. Alchemist is kind of experimental and stuff. Very great guitar and piano work. His sampling is unreal, and then these two are very out there in their own right. But then you get them together, and then they completely go outside of their own norms, kind of, which is very very impressive to me. Um, Super Nintendo, going to mention it again just because there is some continuity here that I noticed. So Haram, last song on Haram is Stone Fruit. Very beautiful song, crazy lyricism within that. And, kind of they're both like the lyrical themes are almost similar. The like Woods is talking about a relationship in Super Nintendo, just like with Stone Fruit. Elucid spitting some crazy bars. And so I think that's like one of the things I love about these two albums, right? Is that at the end of it, you get this kind of almost like a Bon Voyage kind of song at the end of it, where it's like, hey, that was it. Listen to this, because if you didn't get to the end of the album, the some of the best songs are the last ones, and you get just these masterpiece of songs. So I thought that was really cool that they kind of kept. Whether it's something they discussed or not, maybe they had the same conversation that I'm talking right now, but maybe they did it unintentionally. But either way, kudos to them for that because I think that's a really neat little Easter egg, if you will, if you're a fan of these guys. But yeah, man, Mercy Arm& Hammer 2025, probably in my opinion the rap album of that year, for which was a pretty strong year in music altogether. 2025 was. But Matt, are you suggesting that we're ready for top threes?
I am suggesting it, but I can't tell you the number. I have to dial it. All right, here we go. I'll start.
Nice.
That
Honorable mention for me, Super Nintendo, like we've all said, probably the standout track lyrically, and I don't know, it's just catchy, hooky, all that. So listen to the whole album because then you get the gem right at the end, which is great. And then 3, 2, 1, number three, Calypso Gene, like that song. Number two, Moonbow, just for the sampling and the weirdness of it. It's a perfect example of how abstract these guys are. And then Nil by Mouth, just a unique, cool song by Armand Hammer.
rock on. I'll go next. I've got two honorable mentions for this one just because it was really hard for me to pick between these two. Calypso Gene and Glue Traps, my two honorable mentions, back-to-back tracks right there. Elucid's verse on Calypso Gene is one of my favorites of his on the album. I think it gets overlooked, honestly. And anytime that I listen to an Arm& Hammer project, whether it's when they release it or I go back and revisit, I am just reminded every time of how as beautiful as a rapper that Billy Woods is, Elucid brings just as much to the table and really makes the group, in my opinion. Number three for me is Scandinavia. That piano riff, and then anytime Billy Woods does a weird voice, I'm a big fan of it. Where he's like kind of nonchalant, like you
Mhm.
know, mommy, like that type of shit. I love it. And the number two for me, Dog Ear, talked about that. Really loved the introspection that was on that. And the number one for me, man, Super Nintendo. I just I love both the opening lines. Of course, you grab hair that grow towards heaven, and then we had a time, don't let him say different. We were drunk and high watching Intervention. That line alone, like anytime I hear it or say it, I get chills because that's like it resonates a lot with me. So yeah, favorite Super Nintendo.
Nice. Yeah, I got into writing again for the pod and doing notes and stuff, and I made a shit ton of notes for this, just like Haram when we initially did it. I still don't make notes regardless, but this time I went overboard. Um, Honorable mention for me, Pressure War. Rappers make me sick like an airport mall fragrance on an empty stomach. What? I know exactly that feel. We know exactly that feel. Um, awesome. Number three for me, California Games. Fuck me up with that flute beat. What is that? What is that? Awesome. Number two, Dog-Eared, and my favorite track was Moonbow. That one really kind of slid under the radar for me, but then I heard it back these last couple of days, and like that, yeah, Matt, that like weird soul voice chop that it does. I'm living in the streets like I'm living like the streets is cobble. Like, come on. But yeah, solid album.
I miss you like the regime toppled. Fucking,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
so good, man. So fucking good.
Yeah.
And that album that is so fucking good, as I said, is Mercy by Armand Hammer, released at the tail end of 2025. Beautiful, beautiful album. I hope that we're able to catch them when they come to Portland. That would be a hell of a show. And that was Matt's pick for this wonderful episode 104 of What You Spinnin'. We'll be right back to close it on up and talk about my pick. But in the meantime, I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We are What You Spinnin', and we'll be back in about two shakes of a lamb's ass. Go ahead and stick around. Peace. Well, guys, it's been a good one. I feel like we're making really good time. We're kind of blasting through this, but I'm having a damn good time. And well, I think we're going to continue having a damn good time. This album is definitely outside of the realm that we've been in. It's What You Spin in episode 104. As always, I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We're here and we're excited to wrap things up with my pick for this week. I think this album came out in 2021. Let me double check. Oh, it doesn't say shit. Okay. Well, I think 2021. Um, it is Goose Dripfield. Like indie kind of jammy kind of. They're definitely way more jammy live. But this is a group I discovered diving down the jam band rabbit hole, and um, pretty rare for jam bands to have like a solid studio album, but I think this is a good one, and I think it's a good introduction to the band. If you like this, there's some stuff I could send you that you might like from these guys. But yeah, obviously a big fan. What do you guys think?
The sweet album cover. It has a very drippy feel, a very drip field effect going on. And they are kind of a jammy band, but not in the like common sense. I feel like they have more of a, I don't know, not like a rock, but like an indie feel to them in a sense. And so they're a little bit more accessible. And I love this album. It was really fun to listen to. Um, Kind of unique in how they structure their songs, and it's short too, 10 songs. But I don't know, it's fun, good musicians, good lyricism. I'd be curious to hear some other albums as well. And you said you got into them just by kind of diving down that rabbit hole of jam bands in general.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of when I started playing music with these guys, and I was getting into, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground as far as jam band stuff went, and so obviously hit the big ones, Grateful Dead, Fish, and then at the time, I think this is a couple years back, like 2023. At the time, Goose was like really picking up steam in the jam band community, like headlining festivals and shit, and so I kind of got into him right about then, but then as I continued diving down the Dead and Fish hole, I kept coming back to listening to some of their live stuff in this. And yeah, it was just I had heard the name Goose, on Reddit and other things like, jam band forums. And I was like, well, let me give them a listen. And, obviously we're big into albums here, so And just like I did with the Dead, I listened to live stuff, but I wanted to hear what they sounded like in a studio. And, as I kind of alluded to, sometimes with jam bands, that's not really strong. Like, I don't really like a lot of Fish studio albums, but I think they're great live.
Mhm.
And they kind of stray away from that formula. And I thought this album was really good and really accessible. And so I kind of like held on to it and have been listening to it a lot, in the past 2, 3 years. And I always thought like when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is like a perfect kind of studio jam band album to get people into it. And it's kind of a good foot in the door. Like if you like this, if you came up to me and you said, hey man, I really liked that album. Can you show me stuff by other jam bands that I would like based off of this, this, and this? And I could probably steer you in the right direction. So yeah, just kind of one of those happenstance thing, kind of like the Loathe via getting into Loathe via Deftones thing, kind of the same vibe here.
Mhm. Very cool. Yeah, I felt like it had a little bit more of a kind of a Pink Floyd feel at times in some songs, especially like the title track and things like that, which I appreciated. So yeah, fun pick. I like it.
Yeah, very fun album. Do like it. Um, it's only 10 songs, but every song is like 7 minutes. So there's some longer songs, like 7, 8 minute songs, which I love. And I think that's perfect for jam bands. And that's why they do it, is because they can just, kind of free solo everything every now and then. And I feel like they would be great live because of that, because they have these longer drawn out songs where they can just jam and, everyone kind of do their own thing. But no, pretty solid album. It was pretty fun. The title track is a really good one, and then you get songs like Arrow that are kind of really funky, really crazy, a lot more out there than any of the other songs. But for the most part, it's some good listening, some good tunes. So yeah, really solid pick.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and they kind of do something cool. They let the other guys sing instead of the main guy, Rick, I can never pronounce his name, Rick Toda. I don't know. It's
That was
fucking weird.
close. That was close. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Mitaratota, he's great vocally, but then they kind of switch it up, and I don't know what the instrument that guy plays that does, like the whales and honeybee and all these things. But they do have the Pink Floyd aspect, the indie aspect, but then they do songs like the whales and honeybee, and they almost start to lean into this like Avett Brothers adjacent type of territory, which I think is very, very cool, especially when, there's songs on this album such as Arrow that are very funky and driving and hot tea, all of these songs that are very get off your ass and get and shake it type of songs. But then you get these kind of stripped down folky kind of thing, which is huge, which is cool. So big fan of that. And then yeah, they kind of have a little bit of everything on this. You guys both mentioned the title track. I agree. But then, songs like Slow Ready are just as good, as the, more big, get up and moving songs. And so I really appreciate the diversity on this. Like I said, I think this is a perfect resume to hand this album to somebody and be like, hey, you'll probably like something off of this. And if you don't, then I'm sorry. But I think you could probably have like an 85 to 90% success rate if you were to do something like that. And I think that speaks volumes, especially for one, being an up and coming jam band in today's society cannot be easy. I mean, when these guys started, it was probably even harder. Jam bands are a little more accepted nowadays. We're in like a weird musical revolution. I don't know if you guys have noticed like over the past 5 years or listened to me talk at all, but I've been pounding this drum that music is in a weird, we're really turning a weird corner. New metal's popular again. People love the fucking Grateful Dead all of a sudden. Like all like people that weren't even born in the same decade as when Garcia died are like huge into jam. Anyway, that's what you spin an after dark conversation. Go ahead and join me on Patreon. Just kidding. But yeah, obviously big fan of this. I have missed seeing these guys live a couple of times, and so they're like, I want to see them so bad. Uh, that would be sick.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see live for sure. What other albums have you listened to that you like of them?
Honestly, I haven't. They have one. I can't remember the name of it, but their live at Capitol Theater show. They did like I think it's a couple different nights. I think they did like a residency at Capitol Theater in New York
Mhm.
and put out an album of it, and it's just incredible. There's a lot of songs off of this on that live album. Like the live version of Arrow on that album is incredible. Like just so good. Um, but yeah, I cannot remember it off the top of my head, but I'll have to shout you out the other name. But yeah, that Capitol Theater one, I sent you all a song off of it this morning. Go ahead and listen to some of the songs off of this album on that.
Yeah, these guys are really good at what they do. I feel like when you get so many guitars in the same band, it can blend together pretty fast, but they stand apart, each person doing their own thing. And I liked every track, to be honest, on this album was a killer track. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out to see if I can go to any of their shows because I feel like I've seen them at Hidden Homes in Bend. I feel like I've seen their name pop up last year. I could be wrong.
road
Yeah,
trip.
I think over the summer they were there.
I think they were, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna have to keep an eye out. I didn't know, wouldn't have known if you wouldn't have brought it up. Should have brought it up earlier. Um, but solid pick. Thanks for bringing it up because I'm definitely gonna get more into it. I like I mentioned, I definitely went a little overkill on Mercy, but this album did have a lot of standout tracks for me, so I'm gonna have to go back and keep listening and keep updating my picks for it. But solid album.
Yeah. Yeah, and these guys like early on in their career like they got a lot of recognition and kind of, you know, from the jam band community like they have two percussionists. They did like Dead and Company did like a thing in the Dead in the Sand or something, and they took the two percussionists from Goose to play with the two percussionists from the Grateful Dead
Ooh.
because they do a thing called Rhythm Devils, and so they just had four drummers up on a stage in Mexico doing crazy drum shit, and they got a very huge jam band community co-sign very early on, and then just this past Labor Day, when Dave Matthews did his Labor Day weekend, Goose was like one of the highlight openers. And shout out Christian and Krista, they went and they were like Goose fucking destroyed. They said that it was actually you guys will appreciate this. I said who was a better opener, Goose or Bela Fleck in the Flecktones, and they said they couldn't decide. They said that is too tough because
That's
they said they both fucking murdered. So and it was at the Gorge, so I was like, yeah, I would have just my head
Oh,
would have exploded. My head would have exploded. Are you
yeah.
kidding? So yeah, Goose, man, I think they're only gonna get hotter. They've put out a couple of albums since this. I haven't listened to them in their entirety. I listened to a single or two off of the most recent one. Pretty good. But yeah, I think they're only going to rise in popularity. So if you can see them at an affordable venue, do it now. Because opening up for something like Labor Day weekend only means that they're absolutely massive or about to be. So, but yeah, what if we dive into top threes? How do you guys feel about that?
Let's do it.
sure.
Julio. All right, honorable mention for me, Slow Ready. Love the slowdown on that. There's like some cool electronic drum stuff going on in there. Really like that. Number three, Arrow. We talked about that one. Great song. Number two for me is the opening track, Born. I just love that opening chord progression is just so nice. And it kind of the song just builds like you're making a house out of Lincoln logs, and then by the end of it, you've got this big sprawling song that sounds like it could be out of a movie trailer. The number one for me, Hot Tea. Jesus Christ, that song kicks absolute ass. And I think it's like one, 7 spots, and then my two and three. That's how much I like Hot Tea. The saxophone on that song is dumb. It's just got so much. Ugh. That song is hard for me to listen to when I'm in a bad mood because it makes me like if I'm in a bad mood and I want to be,
Hmm.
I can't listen to Hot Tea because I'm just gonna be like going down for those who want to fight driving and I'm like pissed. But yeah, Hot Tea, my favorite song. I fucking love this album.
Nice. I really like Hot Tea too. Also, that is in my list. Honorable mention for me is the title track. I think it has a good build up to it in the middle of the song. Number three was Arrow. I love that song. Number two, 726 or 726. I like the ending to the album. I think it's a good kind of switch up. It's a little bit of a slower song, so it's a little slower ending. And then also Hot Tea. I really like that song. The lyrics on it, the honey on your spoon. Like, yes, when I drink tea, I put honey in my tea. It's awesome. So, yeah.
Nice. Good picks by you guys. Mine's kind of leans towards the beginning of the album, but this whole album's great. 10 songs of fun all around. But honorable mention for me was The Whales. Like that song, kind of a unique track on this album. And then 321 Honeybee. Thought that was kind of catchy lyrically and kind of had me repeating lyrics throughout the week. And then my 2 to 1 is kind of just the way they blend together with Hunger Sight and Dripfield. I like those two. Dripfield would be my number one pick, but they just blend together so well. I thought it was a great contrast to have those two songs back to back. They did a great job with the production on that side. So great
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first like four tracks on this are a very, very solid opener to the album. And that's kind of why I instantly fell in love with it. I was like, oh yeah, they laid this album out perfectly. So yeah, that was Dripfield by Goose, I believe released in 2022 or 21, which was my pick for this beautiful episode 104 of What You Spinnin'. That's it for today's content. Go ahead and stick around though. We got some stuff to talk about, aka what's coming next episode. Go ahead and stick around. I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We are What's up, party people? It's What You Spinnin'. We're here at the end of the show. Everybody's nice and chill and relaxing. Excuse me, ready to get on with our weekend. I'm Dorian, that's Matt, and that's Jake. We are here to let you know what's coming in about 2 weeks' time for episode 105. Episode 104 ruled. There was a lot of good albums there. Go ahead and listen to them. We go in the order that we talked today, which means that Jake is up first to let us know what he's got coming in a couple weeks. What you got, man?
Yes, I love going first because I can set the tone, set the mood. This will be my mood for the next 2 weeks. The meters.
Oh my God!
69. I don't know how we haven't brought this up already.
I
But the
fucking love
meters
that album.
came out in 69.
We play when I do these jams, we play Sissy Strut a lot. It's a great
Nice.
song. Great song off that album. I'm very excited for that. I have that. I'm actually gonna be able to spin that. Uh hell yeah, man. Matt, what you got?
I'm gonna do a revisit to an artist that a couple of us have brought up before, and I'm going with the live album of theirs from 2002. It was recorded in 2000, but released in 2002. It's called All That Could Have Been by Nine Inch Nails.
Ooh, ooh, baby.
A few tracks from The Fragile, but most of them are from different albums. So it's a
Fuck
good
yes.
representation of that band at the height of their live performance era. So I think you'll enjoy
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Anytime you guys are like, we've brought this album up before, a couple of us have, I'm like, who? Who brought him up? What is it? I get like super defensive for some reason. Um, this is gonna be called, I think it might already be being considered a classic, but I think in about 10 to 20 years time we're gonna look back on this album and consider it a classic of the 2010s. This album came out in 2015. It's Currents by Tame Impala. Incredible
Ooh,
album. Been kind of I've been flirting with bringing this up and figured now's about as good a time as ever. So Currents by Tame Impala.
Nice. Good mix of albums. Heck yeah. I love it.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. Let me just jot this down. Um, hell yeah, man. The Meters, Nine Inch Nails, and Tame Impala. I'm a big fan of these three picks already, and I'm sure the fans will be as well. Uh, we want to thank you guys for stopping by and listen to us shoot the breeze about music and things that make us happy. Music is a universal language, and I think that we do a pretty good job of making that kind of concept a reality here. And I think we do a really great job of covering the music that we do and showing, explaining the whys we like things and, kind of giving the backstory there. And today's episode was no different. If you like this type of stuff, please subscribe, like us, follow us on Instagram at What You Spinnin', follow me at Dorian Dilly. Constantly posting music stuff, getting really into posting guitar and bass clips right now. So please go ahead and shoot me a follow on there. As always, support your local record store, support your local restaurants and businesses, especially if you're in Lane County. Go visit Moonrock Records on 11th. Go see Callie, short little redheaded gal. She has just a wealth of knowledge about music, insanely good prices, and a very good selection of music in her little shop. They need the help. They need all the help they can get. And outside of that, man, it's getting cold as hell. Please stay safe out there, especially if you're driving. Uh, send somebody you know a song that makes you think of them, and while you do that, tell them about What You Spinnin'. We're literally everywhere you find podcasts. As always, Again, we thank you. I'm Dorian. That's Matt. And that's Jake. It's been a beautiful episode 104 of What You Spinnin'. Have a great January. We'll see you in February. Take it easy.